Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Matthew Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Good to have you here this morning. Not here to talk about this morning. I'm here to talk about last night. Now, some of you decided to go ahead and go and vote yesterday in the 37 some odd states that had elections. And thank you. I appreciate you. I also appreciate the people who didn't, because even a protest vote of not voting is a vote. It's your voice. You're saying, I choose not to participate. I don't agree with it, especially after the result. I don't know if you're aware, and after looking at the turnout, you aren't. But we got shellacked. Now, Fox News this morning is going to automatically shift to Biden and Trump and tell you all about the magical polls. Yeah, they're doing that because they got worked. The GOP got worked. Republicans got worked. And most importantly, you got worked. And that is all I care about. I'm going to bring you the truth. I'm going to tell you what happened. You're not going to like this episode because it's going to be real. And it's not going to be the other stations and the other pundits who are trying to keep your clicks and for you to buy shirts. I want your clicks. I want you to buy shirts. But I'm not going to sacrifice honesty to do so. I'll be right back.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more f***ed up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hunt and
Thank you for stopping by. If you like the sound, that's Still Point, STIILPOINT. They are a band out of Georgia. They are good. Georgia didn't do well either last night. I wonder if Still Point voted. This is for your own good, and I just need you to listen. This isn't going to be a Trump bashing fest. This isn't going to be, let's go ahead and change all of our policies. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We need to establish our policies. There hasn't been a party platform since really 2016. Donald Trump has decided what is great for America, and it actually wound up being wonderful for America. And the Republicans got lazy. I guess they're waiting for someone else to write the platform because the RNC and the GOP haven't written a platform for us to get around. In fact, what do we do as Republicans anymore? Are conservative values actually established? And I would say no. And this is a perfect time to begin. Now, I usually, at least over the last year or so, have been straying away from writing everything down and reading to you. This is not going to be one of those times. I took a very deliberate amount of time to bring you some ardent and very fair points that you probably won't like to hear. But once again, I sure can bury the lead, can't I? The main job of the RNC is to lead the Republican Party to win elections. The chair helps out with building a party platform, raising funds, recruiting candidates, etc., and finding strategies to win elections. The GOP has generally done not so well since 2018, and this is just as honest as it comes. Despite gaining House seats in 2020, the GOP lost the Senate and the White House. The GOP did perform well in 2021 by flipping Virginia and almost flipping New Jersey, but almost doesn't really count unless it's horseshoes and hand grenades, as the old saying goes. While the Republicans were able to take the House in 2022, they underperformed expectations for an opposition party. Don't you remember the red wave that never came? It was more like a red trickle. They lost seats in the Senate and managed to flip only one governor's mansion, Nevada, of all places, while losing 3. With 2024 around the corner, a Biden-Trump rematch is likely, and pundits expect Biden to get reelected, of course, because that's what everyone's saying, and the Democrats may even regain the House. Now, is that the truth? We don't know, but that's what the numbers are saying, no matter what all the major polls from New York Times say. We're too far out, and this election will narrow and be a 1% race, as it was in 2016 and as it was in 2020. It will sure again be in 2024. The GOP could gain the Senate next year, but this is not guaranteed, and I am not hopeful, especially after what I saw last night. So, Matt, you're so damn negative. Everything's doom and gloom. What do we do? Well, I don't know what we do, but what would I do? It's pretty simple. The MAGA wing of the Republican Party and country at large has always existed in some form or another. In general, we might call it paleoconservatism. But it was generally fine sharing power with neoconservatives and the compassionate conservative crowd in order to appeal to the suburbs and win. This is what we would call essentially the Reagan coalition. But there's one thing you can always guarantee outside of that is suburban women will always betray conservative values. Whether you like that or not, the truth is in the pudding and the numbers, because abortion is on the table. And as I said 3 years ago and 1 year ago, it will rule the conversation until it doesn't. Abortion is the Second Amendment conversation to Republicans. Ergo, we will drive to the polls, crawl to the polls, fly to the polls, and do whatever we could to get to the polls when it comes to the Second Amendment. And I want you to imagine that conviction when it comes to killing babies for the left. A long 30-year history of the Republican Party. It could be broken down into the paleocons slowly losing their patience, with the other wing as their priorities were always the first to be compromised. Not without reason, paleocon priorities were either unpopular, untenable, or holding onto rapidly aging social politics in the modern age. The collapse of George W. Bush's popularity and the complete collapse of the neoconservative movement is what finally broke the old Reagan coalition. Trump's win showed them there was some sort of voting math that would allow them to a win on their own, even for only that moment. As a result, they aren't going to compromise or give it up. People are saying no matter what we do, we can divide the Republican Party and the truth will out. The most popular will win. All it's done is created a lot of cynicism, derision, and separation within the party, and it's no longer true. Trump was the perfect storm, and the storm is over. Well, at least until 2024, we all hope. But this is not without some major repeated history, and that is decades long when it comes to losses. The last time something similar happened, it was 1929, and the Republicans were essentially out of power for the Democrat New Deal coalition until the 1970s, and the New Deal remnants existed until the late 80s. The Republicans need to transition from populist anger at the system into delivering actual solutions. Fundamentally, many people do prefer the idea of smaller federal government and more power to local government. But Republicans fail to meaningfully lower the deficit when they have power and instead try to starve the beast strategies or unfounded tax cuts. Clearly articulate where they should cut at the federal level and then do it. Wouldn't that be nice? Even though they don't. The Rust Belt is the region to focus on, and the Democrats are mostly ignoring it, and their woke, equal opportunity, racial focus is deeply unpopular in working-class white regions, and we're finding in Hispanic and Black communities as well. Yet the region is still fairly pro-union. The first party that truly and meaningfully delivers real fixes for those areas will have a huge advantage. If you want to drain the swamp and get more jobs to the Rust Belt, how do you do it? Well, you start moving federal agencies' headquarters there. Republicans keep saying no to national universal health care, and probably, and most assuredly, rightfully so, as the Fed isn't structured to do it effectively. Point to the fact that the EU doesn't run EU-wide health care either. It's per country. So they need to demonstrate a successful Republican state to emulate that fact, if there is one that exists. Ditto with climate change. Don't like the Democrats' high inconvenience and how efficacy solutions will help us by importing foreign oil. Well, why don't you propose serious investment in nuclear energy as a solution? Cheap, clean, 100% domestic energy is a solution and one that we can get behind. In 1970 and 80, yes, the China syndrome was an issue, and we were worried about irradiating the Chinesemen and everyone else in between. But our technology has advanced, and I'm sure we can revisit it. I think both Republicans and Democrats are picking bad spots in this culture war that we're seeing. Republicans have too many hateful dog whistles, and Democrats have absurdities and growing anti-Semitism in their ranks, as we saw Rashida Tlaib was censored last night. Called that one. Most people are much closer to center-right, like Ben Shapiro, or center-left, like Bill Maher. Both are equally viable voices in the community and ones that should be heard, versus the fringe to the left and the right, which should be shunned, yet we don't. On culture war stuff specifically, the first party that adopts a bit more common sense empathy, not sympathy, empathy, like either one of those, will make some pretty big leaps. Yet we don't. But most of all, I wouldn't be stupid. I would poll the public and make a platform out of what the majority of them wanted, because that is their job. They represent the constituents, not the private interest groups or the political action committees or what their local church wants, because that isn't necessarily what the nation wants. We need to start with education. How about you ask a few questions? And why do we complicate everything? It's pretty simple. Hey guys, what do you want? It's a great question. They tell you, and your response is, cool. We'll see if it's unconstitutional and feasible and look at alternatives for you while you're busy working, making all the tax revenue for the government. Then we'll see if we can make it happen. But first, we have a few questions. Where does life begin? What do you believe and what do you know? What a wonderful question, considering that it covers both bases. One is what you know and you can prove, and one is what you believe. And both need to be measured, because the Democrats believe that you can kill anything you want up until birth. And Republicans believe that abortion should be outright gone. But wait a second, is that the truth? Well, no, it's not. There is a middle ground, and 76% of Americans agree on it, and we can't seem to go ahead and push that policy forward. And I hate that it isn't just done that easily. If you say different districts want different things like country folk and city folk, cool. Give them different things. But that happens at the city and state level, not within the federal government. And that is what we are trying to do. We're trying to use a hammer to screw in. And unfortunately, it's the wrong tool for the job, because everything just gets hammered and screwed. Last but not least, attitude reflects leadership. The constituents of the party are watching these clowns run the circus, and we're emulating this behavior while we vote or choose not to. From Lauren Boebert getting handy in a theater. Is she really the best choice we have? Thomas Massey, everyone says he's amazing, and honestly, he is, except for his voting record. He quietly undercuts every Republican initiative without being called out by anyone. The fiasco with the speakership that we just went through, how many Republicans did we put up front and say, no, this guy's the real guy? And now Johnson, who nobody knows anything about, somehow is the great white hope and everybody loves him and he has a fan base when nobody knew his name 2 weeks ago. I wonder how and why that works. January 6th hanging over everyone's head, whether you participated or not. If you simply voted for Trump, you're an insurrectionist. Are we going to address this anytime soon? Are we actually going to say, that ain't true? How about Ukraine? We refuse to spend money and say we need to cut and tighten the belt, but Israel happens, and it's like, let's give them everything they want. It's interesting. How about our denial of birth control in 1980 through 1990, even up into the 2000s? Can we just admit we were wrong? Can we admit that if you can wear a condom for AIDS, you should probably also wear one to prevent unnecessary birth in children? I think so. I think STDs are a bad thing, whether you're 27 years old or whether you're 17 or 13. And no, you shouldn't be having sex at that age. But guess what? They are, because reality is true and everything else is just what you believe. Either it was stolen or it wasn't. You can't pretend that when you win, it's fair, and when you lose, it isn't. If you preach for 364 days a year that it is riddled with fraud and the election was stolen, why would you expect them to show up on the one day you pretend it isn't? Get on the same damn page. It is absolutely imperative, and this one needs to be circle, starred, underlined, all of it. It is imperative that the GOP develop a national strategy on abortion, which includes exposing the extreme platform of the left. And 2, supporting mothers. Republicans must be pro-baby and pro-mother. This means embracing Mark Rubio's Providing for Life Act, if that's the answer. And now Speaker Johnson has one called Unborn Child Support Act. You should read them both. And there are other proposals that support women. It's not like this is that hard. We need a party platform, and we need it now. Conservatives are confused. The general everyday lackadaisical Republican has no idea what they stand for anymore. Big spending, smaller government, no wars, abortion, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 21 weeks, never at all. Nobody knows. We need a party platform now, and that falls on one person. We need to remove Ronna McDaniel now. Mitch McConnell now. We need to find a way to bring in the neocons, yes, the party platformers, the MAGA Republicans, and the alt-right, and bring them together and come up with a platform that somehow makes sense. Most importantly, we need to stop the infighting. Either get behind Trump, which is what America wants, at least from the Republican side, or support the Democrats in destroying him. Shit or get off the pot. We're sick of it. Either way, you better decide, because he's going to be on the ticket. And with Youngkin now sunk because of Virginia, he is the candidate. And none of you can decide what to do. And all the while you're arguing and fighting and doing your petulant baby attitudes and routines, Democrats are using rhetoric and emotional fallacies to mop the floor with the election cycle. And most importantly, make the conservatives look exactly as they are. People who have no idea what they are, who they stand for, or what they stand for. And unfortunately, that helps Democrats and will continue to hurt the GOP in 2024. Mark my words, I said it before, abortion is on the ticket, and it will win unless we find a strategy to oppose it. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. You can see me live tonight. We're going over the debate. I'll be here. I don't know if anyone else will be here. I think everyone is busy, preoccupied. So I may run solo, and that's fine. I did it for years. We'll do it again. You can stop by the Don't Unfriend Me Show and get a cool shirt at thedumbshow.com. Save 10% by using code DUMB10, and 10% goes back to the Travis Manion Foundation. So how about that? Thanks for watching. Please do me a favor, share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you later tonight. God bless.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.